I'm Gary Sutton, and glad to be here with John LeBoutillier, former congressman from New York, now national political commentator. And we continue to watch the primaries change now. It's now down to a two-person race for all intents and purposes. And, John, on Tuesday, Idaho, Michigan, Mississippi, Missouri, and Washington all have primaries, while North Dakota will caucus. Is this the final straw for Bernie Sanders, or does he still have life after this? Obviously, we haven't seen the results yet, so I'm asking you something we haven't seen. But obviously, right. Joe Biden with the momentum going right now. Yeah,
and just now, Cory Booker, another candidate who dropped out, endorsed Biden. Last night, Kamala Harris did it. Kamala Harris is going to come to Detroit on Monday afternoon to do a big rally with Biden. On the eve of the Michigan primary, which I think is the answer to your question. If Bernie pulls out Michigan tomorrow, the way he did against Hillary, then he lives to fight strongly for a while longer. If he has a bad day, he's going to lose Mississippi and probably Missouri. Mm-hmm. And if he loses Michigan, I don't really know where he's going to get enough delegates.
Right.
He'll keep fighting because he's stubborn and he can raise a ton of money. But you know, the difference between this year and 4 years ago is one thing. It's Hillary. Hillary was so polarizing, even in the Democratic Party, that, you know, it was a 50-50 race, basically, mm-hmm. Hillary versus Bernie. And a lot of those votes for Bernie were anti-Hillary votes.
Correct.
But they're not here this time. There is no Hillary. And everything's changed. Instead of getting 50% like he did 4 years ago, he's getting around 28, 30. Yep. 27%, and you're not going to win with that. And meanwhile, everybody else is moving to Biden. I think we can assume Biden is going to be the nominee. It may take longer, months, maybe not. This thing could collapse for Bernie after tomorrow. And next week we have Florida, which is Biden's way ahead there. Mm-hmm. Ohio, I don't know. I haven't seen any polling. One would suspect Biden would do well in Ohio if he wins Michigan, but we'll see.
Have you ever seen, and Republican or Democratic Party, have you ever seen as remarkable a turnaround as there's been here with Biden? And then the almost orchestrated everybody coming to Biden in just a matter of hours and days to line up behind him. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, obviously. Never seen anything close to it. I do think the death doorstep and back to the top thing was a little reminiscent of 2008. John McCain started out in 2007 as the front runner because he had run, mm-hmm. obviously, in 2000, lost to George W. Bush. And in the Republican next in line deal, when Bush is finished in 2008 and McCain runs, he's next in line because he'd run and lost. He starts out as the front runner in 2007, and Romney is running, and Rudy Giuliani, and all those people. And McCain bombs out. He's just a complete wreck of a campaign. And he runs out of money.
Right.
And he's flying around coach on commercial airplanes. And somehow it turns around and he wins the nomination. And that's sort of the same thing here, but it's different, too. But, because Biden's running against an enormously unpopular incumbent president. That has motivated voters a lot differently.
And yet one of the things that Trump has, and you read these stories all the time, is they are socially, as far as the media and so forth, as socially connected in the country as any Republican campaign probably has ever been. And you wonder with Biden, I mean, there's obviously, Biden is a likable kind of guy, but by the same token, Biden is constant in terms of the gaffes and so forth. And you wonder, I mean, he was a vice president, so this isn't chump change by any means, but you wonder how all those kind of things start to stack up. And obviously, in the day and age when things can change in a day, we can see a lot of things change between now and November. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think this. I think since the day he was inaugurated, Donald Trump's been underwater with the American people. He's had around 53 to 55% disapproval and, 40 to 45, 37, so it ranges approval. But the ones who approve, as you say, socially connect or whatever to Trump, they love Trump. Mm-hmm. They're totally with Trump, and it's great to have a base like that. Here's the mistake, I think, the big mistake Trump has made. He knew early on that he had this base when he made that comment. I could go out on Fifth Avenue and shoot
I remember that. Yeah.
My voters would stick with me. Well, if you know they're going to stick with you, then Gary, move to the middle on some issues.
Go get some new ones.
Defang your opposition. Go
Right.
get new voters. He could put in national health insurance, Medicare for all. He could put it in today, and he wouldn't lose his base.
Yeah.
They will do whatever Trump wants. So if you know you have that base, use it.
Yeah.
And instead, he plays to it all the time, which is fine. But you're not going to win with that. That's why they lost the House, and it's not going to win. I don't think it'll work in November. I think
I'm not
you've
sure.
got to go get voters away.
We're in such an unpredictable world now, and it's and again, I respect your you have great intelligence on this, but we're trying to figure it out in maybe one of the most unpredictable times in American political history. John, I always look forward to each week talking to you on these podcasts. Thank you so much for being with me. I really do appreciate it.
Me too, Gary. Talk to you next week.
We'll talk to you next week, and you can listen to WSBA Morning News with Gary Sutton, 6 to 9, weekdays on News Talk 93.9 and 910 WSBA.